Load factor is the weight the wings are carrying compared to the weight of the loaded plane. In level flight, they're just holding the weight of the airplane, which we call a load factor of 1. The pilot is experiencing 1g, which is to say normal acceleration from gravity. If more weight is loaded or a heavier or lighter plane is flown, the load factor still stays at 1. The lift is equal to the weight. Anytime the wing must produce more lift than just the weight of the plane, load factor increases above 1. Outside forces can impose load. Gusts and turbulence can momentarily spike load factor. And there are two main ways a pilot can impose positive load factor. One is a pull-up from a dive. From the pilot's frame of reference, there's an apparent centrifugal force adding to the weight, and the wings have to provide extra lift beyond the weight of the plane. This can be felt briefly when entering a climb, especially if done abruptly, but during a climb the load factor returns to 1. The other time is when turning. During a level turn, the pilot has to add some back pressure to maintain altitude. This is because some of the lift from the wings is working to pull the plane around the turn instead of to hold the plane up. Additional back pressure changes the angle of attack, so there's enough lift for both the turn and to keep the plane level. The pilot feels extra weight in the seat from that back pressure, and the wings feel that same multiplied weight. Just like the lift now has vertical and horizontal components, the load now has vertical and horizontal components. The weight of the plane is still there, but because the plane is now curving through a turn, there's an additional centrifugal force that acts horizontally to the outside of the turn. The wings must bear the vector sum of these two forces. The answer to this question is B. These vectors, showing horizontal and vertical components of lift, give the mathematical answer to this next question. Since it's tipped over, we can use the angle and some trig to solve for what the total lift must be. The vertical component of lift is the cosine of the bank angle times the total lift, and the horizontal component is the sine of the bank angle times the total lift. To keep the airplane at a level altitude, the vertical component of lift must always equal weight. Rearranging this, we find that the total lift must equal the weight divided by the cosine of the bank angle. In this example, the 2,000-pound plane at a 45-degree bank needs 2,828 pounds of total lift to stay level. Load factor is just the ratio of total lift to total weight. In the example, that's 2828 divided by 2,000, which gives the book answer of 1.41 Gs. In the equation, we can find load factor by substituting total lift for our equation from earlier and dividing by weight. The two weights here cancel out, giving us a load factor of 1 over the cosine of the angle. Already it's evident airspeed doesn't have anything to do with this. It will widen or tighten the turn radius, but not affect load factor. And in the final step, weight, which is possibly related to aircraft type, drops out too. Bank alone determines the load factor. Answer A. A normal category airplane has positive and negative limits on load factor. The positive limit on load factor is normally 3.8 Gs. This chart shows the relationship between airspeed and the load on the plane. It lets various scenarios be shown. For a simple scenario, imagine a plane in level cruise flight. Load factor is 1G, and speed is in the normal range somewhere. Slow the plane down, and staying at 1G, it will stall when it meets this curved line at point A. For another scenario, imagine a level steep turn. We know that a 45-degree bank imposes 1.41 Gs. And this graph also shows that at that load factor, the plane will stall at a higher speed, around 75 miles per hour. Now let's imagine pulling out of a dive. At an airspeed of 120 miles per hour, pulling hard back on the yoke will impose additional load on the airplane until it stalls at around 3.5 Gs. At a higher airspeed of 140 miles per hour, though, that same maneuver will not stall the plane initially. The load factor will build to 5 Gs before stalling. This puts the airplane into the red structural damage area, where it is exceeding that 3.8 G limit for positive load factor. This line from C to E represents that limit. Answer B. C is defined as maneuvering speed, VA. When making this full control deflection, below VA, you'll stall. Above it, the wings could bend or break. Let's look at the other answer choices. The line from D to G represents the airspeed marked on the ASI at VNO, max structural cruising speed. This is a speed which is calculated based on a tolerance for vertical turbulence. In the green, an FAA standard 30 foot per second vertical gust will not damage the plane. The line from E to F is also labeled. It's the never exceed speed, marked with a red line on the airspeed indicator.